Right, so now I want to adjust the diving routine. 4 seconds for the piston to move and so on. It goes in several layers, and this is the actual code. Now you'll note that when the piston dive pin is on low, it's actually meaning it's running, because the relays work on low, which is ground, not positive, not high, which is the positive 5. So what I want to do here is I want to change the time here to 6 seconds for the stage when, so that the stage of the pump, the trim tank working is going to be 6 seconds, and then the last part is 24 seconds. Now, when the surfacing routine is for the piston and the trim tanks to work for 4 seconds and then stop, and that's the end of it. And then the second stage, which occurs when it's at the surface, is that the diving tanks come on and the trim tanks come on for a further 6 seconds, and then the diving tanks remain on for a further 50 seconds. So that's what I'm doing here. I'm just changing surface routine 1, which is the point where they that's that initial phase. I'm changing that to 5 seconds. And then the big one to 50 seconds. And these are all obviously in thousandths. And now the interval which the piston uses for cruising is going to be every 8 seconds. It'll move for 1 second. Just some little adjustments. So here we are in the water, and we're just going to see how it goes really for the first time. And I'm now going to fill the tanks. This isn't the first time, but this is the first time using the diving routine to get it all to happen, the proper diving routine. And as you can see, there's a bit of adjustment required here, and the next thing that I need to do is adjust the piston to bring it back up somewhat, and then see if I can get the surfacing routine to work. The second stage of the surfacing routine, however, is completely contingent on the pressure gauge working in the bow to assist with the turn on. I think I'm just using the trim tanks here to get it level, and the piston to bring it up, and you can see it's coming up now nice and slowly, and it's coming up very nicely. Now this is the surface routine, and that all looks okay, but the pump doesn't turn on. So here we go. I'm just going to test it out, and I've got the laptop here and I have it plugged into the Arduino. You can see the cord, the USB cord, and I'm just adjusting the code again and just doing another upload. That's the sound of it finishing. Okay, how you going? I just thought I'd give you a bit of an overview of what's been happening. I had the boat fairly well balanced in the water, running pretty well, and because it was a Sunday morning, I tested it a little bit more, and then I took it down to the boat park where all the guys go with all their boats. I'm the only one with a submarine, of course, so it's always a bit of an interest. Bit of an interest is not always a good thing. First time I've had it running with the Arduino, and it was okay. It was on the water all right, and I put it into its diving routine, and it went straight down. And the water's pretty murky, so you can't see. So it went down about 3 feet, I think, hit the bottom. And I'm then trying to pull the piston out to bring it back up again, and while I did that, I found that it barely came to the surface. Just got it to the surface, got the pump running, and up it went. And then I discovered that it wasn't running, it was doing a couple of strange things as we went along. Now, two issues. The first is that when I built the boat 2 years ago, I put all of this in-wall foam into the boat to give it buoyancy, and then counterbalanced it with lead. And I discovered 2 years later that this stuff has gone brittle and is actually more like a sponge than it is anything else. So I was putting the boat in the water and it was gradually getting heavier and heavier, which is the reason why it didn't come up all that well. But it just reached that critical point, of course, when everyone was watching. That's what happens. So that wasn't very good. The second issue is that the Arduino is meant to run in a voltage bandwidth of 7 to 12. I put an extra battery in this so that it would run at 7.2. Now that's the very bottom of what the bandwidth should be, and the problem is when you get the thing running fast, and I gave it a couple of fast runs, you're getting the current running. I reckon that voltage is dipping down well under 7.2, so consequently the Arduino started running a bit odd. So I realized I had to change a few things. So the first thing that I had to do was put a 9-volt battery in. In other words, the boat's now got 3 batteries. So I needed to put a relay in and a 9-volt battery just to run the Arduino. It takes no juice at all to run it, but that way it's consistent and it's isolated. The second thing was to rip out all of the old foam and install it all again. Now that's been a very interesting process because I know a lot more about it now, and the need to seal it properly and the need to do a better job and seal it all up is sort of where we're taking up now. So I've had to stop everything, reballast the boat, and here we go. So I've now got all this working from the nice little 9-volt battery. I've got the routines working and it's all working very nicely, thank you very much. That's the little battery now tucked away inside the control room. And you can see the wet in-wall foam sitting there. I've just squirted it in, it's gradually expanding. So I'm working fairly quickly here to drop the control room on top of it with a nice coating of Glad wrap, so that in fact it doesn't stick to anything. You've got to be very careful that this stuff doesn't stick to anything that you don't want it to in this process. Just get that down nicely. I've got some cardboard under it as well, just to make sure that there's a bit of space between the control room and that stuff.